Hi, my name is Kyle Newman, and I'm doing my project on international mitigation issues for the Foundation of Emergency Management course. I'd just like to apologize in advance. I'm losing my voice, so thank you for bearing with me today. In order to understand international mitigation issues, it's good to actually understand what mitigation is. Mitigation is when you want to reduce the likelihood of consequences before a disaster occurs. There are two types of mitigation, structural and non-structural. Structural is by man-made, which would be construction or physical efforts. These are things like sea barriers, modifying different structures, things involving construction, and the most extreme, moving populations out of a disaster-prone area. The non-structural are changes through human behavior. These are regulatory measures like zoning and safety standards, education and awareness, tax incentives, and conservation of the environment and other natural resources. The major issues dealing with international mitigation is climate change. That's the one that gets the most attention from the media and through groups. It is caused by the rise of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, which has started around the Industrial Revolution from burning of coal, oil, and other pollution that factories obviously produce. And humans, therefore, are the main cause of this climate change, and it has led to a higher rate of natural disasters. As this chart illustrates, the number of reported disasters by decade by hazard type has been rising since 1971. It's been a steady increase, with most of it, about 80% of the disasters having been relating to flooding, but as you can see, almost every single part is rising, and this can be attributed to the global rise in temperatures via climate change. There are various organizations that are working on the issue of climate change and international mitigation efforts. Most of them prominently known are IGOs, which are international governmental organizations. Some of those that are working on are the United Nations and the World Bank. The United Nations obviously has a bunch of sub-agencies in its organization system, and a lot of them are helping in various different ways about the various different parts of mitigation. The other prominent ones are non-governmental organizations. Those are like the Red Cross and disaster relief organizations and other various type of organizations that work with the specific issues with mitigation. Other ones are also international agencies, but I mean more international agencies. I mean more like specific countries that help other countries. So some of those, the main one would be in the United States would be the USAID, which is the United States Agency for International Development. And there are a lot of different specific ones for countries like Europe and South America and et cetera, et cetera. There are political obstacles to international mitigation issues, mainly the global climate change. One is that the United States hasn't signed any of the major climate change treaties, which some of the other countries see that as, the United States, one of the former main contributors to global climate change, isn't signing it, then why should we? China and India and some of the other countries that are developing rapidly, if they were to try to integrate some of these mitigation efforts, that could possibly slow their development. So that's also a reason why they really aren't too focused on that. But it is a problem because China's coal consumption is rapidly rising in relation to the world. If you see on this chart, the non-political obstacles that countries face are that is mainly poverty. Some countries are too poor to effectively mitigate for hazards. And soon, probably one of the reasons is that they don't have the resources or the money to insure citizens, whether via private or public, which is one of the main and effective forms of mitigation that is done in developed countries. Many can also not afford the latest technology and construction efforts to mitigate against disasters. Another one is people move into areas that are dangerous and they cannot stop them. A lot of this is common in countries like Brazil, Africa, and to some extent Asia. These are just squatter housing, and they often build on the side of mountains and other areas which are disaster prone, and when those disasters happen, it causes a lot of devastation in those areas. Other thing is poor urban planning, again, stemming from that. Another one is lack of emergency staff. Many of these areas don't even have really good police departments or anything like that, so it's to be expected that they do not have emergency planners like we do in pretty much almost every county and town in the entire United States. However, there are a lot of mitigation efforts that are taking place and can be further implemented in order to reduce the problems caused by hazards and disasters. Some of those are treaties, like the Kyoto Treaty and other treaties that are coming along and being developed and have been signed. Another is incorporating structural and non-structural methods into future development. Mainly these things get funding from international organizations and NGOs and things like that, so when they get that funding in order to build things, they have to incorporate mitigation into that. So another is to learn from past lessons. So there have been, unfortunately, many disasters that have occurred, so it's really important for each country to look at other different countries and see what happened and make sure that they're effectively mitigating and learning from those past lessons. Another thing could be is to tailor programs for the specific culture. So many programs that may work in the United States may not work in Africa or Eastern Europe or Western Europe and things like that. So that's another thing to realize when you are mitigating for future hazards, is that you take into account each local culture in order to make it the most effective mitigation that you can have. I would like to thank you for listening to my presentation, and have a great day or night, depending on when you're listening to this. Thank you.